This is Joe Pullen from craftworking.net, and in this video I'm going to talk about actually staging and using a four-post rack. Um, there's a ton of options out there for a four-post rack. Here are the key points you want to make when choosing one. They range from all kinds of prices. I mean, they can get quite pricey, but here's what you're looking for. So when you design your data center and you figure out what equipment you're going to buy, including all the switches and the hosts and anything else that you need, measure up how tall they are in rack units. Because all four-post racks, even two-post racks, come in are measured in rack units, and they range from 15U, 12U, all the way up to 47U, which is a 7-foot rack. And remember, this is going to be in your house, so you want to keep the size of this thing as small as possible. But here's my advice for you: add up all your rack units and then double it. So if you have 20U worth of rack space that you've added up for your infrastructure, look around 40U, and that's going to be about 6 foot. My rack that I actually inherited a while back is very small. It's less than 20U, and I'm out of space, but it works for me. And but also the other thing you want to keep in mind is that you want to get one with good cable management. If you start getting into a complex data center and running all kinds of cables all over the place, you're going to want to manage them because you don't want a rat's nest in your data center. You make sure you get one that can be completely closed off with doors, at least in the front. In the back, I really wouldn't even put a door. It's just too much of a hassle. And you also want to get one with exhaust fans out the top to get some airflow in there. You don't want this to overheat. When you also install this, you want to make sure that you leave enough space to get in the back of it, because you're going to get back there and you're going to be hooking up cables and you're going to be doing all sorts of things back there. So you're going to spend quite a bit of time behind the rack. So make sure that you don't install this rack and butt it up right against the wall, because you're going to need to get to it. But as far as the cable management, you're going to want to make sure that you get one with good cable management. And these are basically the chutes and the channels that all the cables run into. And all of these are pretty much standard. If you buy one new, or if you buy one off of eBay, make sure you get the cages for it. And these are the little square nuts that actually clip into the rails on the side of the case, or the side of the rack, so you can actually mount the screw in the equipment to it. So you make sure, if you don't get those, you can find them on eBay. They're fairly cheap, but make sure you get plenty of those. You don't want to run out of those if you're racking up equipment. The other thing is make sure you plan out the location that you're going to put these servers in. You want to populate this from bottom to top. You don't want to start at the top, because at the end of the day, these servers get quite heavy, and then you get basically a top-heavy server rack. And now one of the things that goes hand in hand to that is the rails. Once you decide to put everything in a rack, which you probably will, you want to make sure that any piece of equipment you get comes with rails. I found out that if it doesn't come with rails, getting the rails or finding the right rails for whatever server you get can be quite difficult. So just make sure that when you purchase your servers and any other equipment you get, that make sure that they include the rails. And these rails are designed to basically make it easy to mount this equipment. So you put the rails in this four-post rack, you put the server inside the rails, and then it slides easily in and out. And what you do is they have a locking mechanism, so you can pull it out, and it'll basically stop pulling out and lock in, completely removed from the rails or from the server rack, so you can actually take off the top and do maintenance inside the server. So make sure that that's something you can consider when installing a rack. If you don't decide the rack, do not put these servers on the floor on the carpeting. Static heat can very well melt your carpeting if you aren't careful. So, but anyways, you want to make it's going to be well worth it for you to spend a few $100s and buy a good rack. And there's a lot of good ones out there, a lot of good ones out on eBay. They're a little bit hard to ship because they're so large and actually quite heavy. So it's not uncommon for a 4-post rack to weigh a couple £100. But anyway, and these 4-post racks are deep enough. They're about 3 feet deep, which is basically the length of your servers, or generally the length of your servers. That will, when you put it in, fully seat the server into the rack, the back of it's going to be pretty much right on the back side of the rack. So make sure that when you look at one of these that you've got enough floor space to do it. And again, you don't want, if you can avoid it, the shorter the rack the better, the smaller it is the better. If most of us have 8-foot ceilings, and if you try to shoehorn a 7-foot rack into a room with an 8-foot ceiling, one, the airflow is going to be restricted from the top. If you run fans on the top of your server rack, and so you want to basically keep it as short as possible. It'd be better for you to get let's say 2 24U racks than it is to get one 45 or 47-inch rack, just because of the height factor. Plus, it's easier to maintain. If you start racking a whole bunch of equipment up and you get into where you're putting these servers at 6 foot or above, you're going to now get into getting ladders to go ahead and try to do maintenance on these things. So you keep these, make sure that when you plan this out, that your servers go on the bottom. Anything you don't need to get into the box itself, such as switches or firewalls or something like that, those can go toward the top of the rack. This is why in a data center these switches will be considered top of rack. And so what you'll see is the servers will be in the middle going up, or from the bottom going up, and then all of your networking equipment where you don't need to get to it will go up on top, and so you don't have to get up there and start taking it out of the rack to go do maintenance. It's pretty much maintenance free, so that's something to make sure that you consider. But anyway, and remember, the heaviest, biggest boxes on the bottom. So if you're going to buy a 12 bay, 24 bay, whatever disk server, put it in the bottom and put the servers above it. And I, like I say, I number mine 1 through whatever, starting from the actual bottom, and I leave, maybe a few inches, and I'll start up like rack position number 2 and going up, and leave 1 so I can get airflow under the bottom of it. So, but there's a lot of documents out there on how to actually put this in. When you buy your server, the owner's manual will spend a lot of time talking about how to actually put this in a rack. So, but make sure that when you plan your data center that you do consider to racking this up. It's not a good idea to just throw these servers on a desk somewhere and then stack them on top of that, because it looks ugly, and then there's no cable management. There's also other solutions in the back. Some of servers you can get, or if they don't come with them already, these little brackets and that fold out. And what you do is put your cables in there, run your cables So when you pull the server out of the rack to do maintenance, you don't have to disconnect the cables. I haven't done this, and so whenever I have to do maintenance on my servers, basically I have to go back there, disconnect all the cables, and then the server comes out and I can do maintenance. It's a little bit of a pain, but I just don't feel I need to invest the money into getting that kind of cable management. So, but anyway, it's all basically convenience. Today's server racks are quite good on making all of your infrastructure nice and neat and tidy. So it's something that you need to look in quite closely. And make sure that when you cable everything, if you have a lot of cables, go get yourself a good label maker and label all your cables. If you have to do recabling and you lose cables, then have fun trying to put the thing back together, because you don't want any downtime as possible. So anything that you can shave off the time of doing maintenance on your network or your infrastructure, the better. So make sure that you have good cable management and you label everything. So, but that's all I have, and just make sure that you consider the installation of your data center before you actually go out and buy anything. So, but that's it for this video, and I will see you on the next one.